As we were planning our Casita upgrades, we decided to weigh the trailer so that we had a knowledge of how much weight we were dealing with, because we were trying to calculate our engineering for weight distribution, etc. So we decided to weigh the trailer, and we took it to the co-op certified scales, and the trailer weighed 3,480 pounds. Then we took it to the scrapyard scale, and it weighed 3,460 pounds there. Well, this model trailer comes with a 3,500 pound axle, so we were almost at the maximum weight before we did any modifications. So, because we're going to be putting additional gear and components on the trailer, we decided we better upgrade the axle, bearings, and brakes. So the following video is with Chris Moore in his shop, describing the upgrade option and why we decided to do it. One thing I knew for sure is I didn't want to be in the northern Rockies or out in the desert somewhere and be concerned that I was right at my maximum weight limit on the bearings and brakes. I just didn't want to get in that predicament.
We're going to move over here to the bearings and show the differences. Factory, the Casita comes with a 3.5K setup. Right here I've got a set of bearings for the 3.5K. Right here, what we're using on the world's toughest Casita are 7K bearings. Do I need to explain anything here? I don't think so. Look at the size difference. Now, we can do this configuration in a, well, actually I was showing you the 5,200 pound setup. We can do this in a 5,200 pound setup, which is a 6-lug instead of an 8-lug. The only difference is the outer bearing. There's a slightly larger bearing that comes into play with the 7K. So you can take a 5,200 pound axle or a 7,000 pound axle, is the exact same thing. It's just what hub is installed and what bearing is installed. So we decided to go with the absolute largest bearing for that setup, so we have an 7K, 8-lug setup. The brakes, by doing this, you have factory on the 3.5K, a 10 1/4 by a 2 1/4 by 10-inch brake shoe setup. With the 7K, you go from that 10 by 2 1/4 up to a 12 by 2. So the size in the brakes has greatly increased. Who doesn't want good brakes? I don't want anyone to think that we're attacking Casita in any way, shape, or form. But with this particular project, the customer does not camp like the normal Casita customers camp. He's getting off-road, going in the mountains in extreme terrain situations. So by upgrading the bearings, you can obviously see why we did that. We wanted the heaviest duty bearing possible and giving as much brake power as we could possibly need in the mountain situations and whatnot. Along with that came the 8-lug wheel setup, and this is what I would call a huge tire for a trailer this size. But by going to a large diameter tire, we now have slowed the revolutions per minute down on the bearing considerably. So one, we have a larger bearing. Two, it's spinning less with less speed, so there's much less wear involved on this, and it's going to take a lot more abuse. Has anybody out there traveled to Alaska? I hear that's a rough trip. We've got to be prepared. So to answer your question as to why in the world we would want to put an 8-lug axle on a Casita trailer, We've explained and showed you the differences in the bearings, the brakes, the tire size, and the effects of using these items. This trailer is not designed to stay on road. This is an off-road trailer, and we can guarantee that when you get off-road, you're going to get back off just like you came on.